Hi everyone, this is MoKG, and welcome to my advanced speedrunning tutorial for Pikmin 1. Today I'm going to cover nearly everything there is to know about cutscenes in Pikmin 1, specifically the part collection and area unlock cutscenes, and more importantly, how to skip them to save time. The part collection cutscene, or part cutscene, lasts the same amount of time for all parts except the main engine on day 1, which is actually unskippable, even with the method I'm about to show you now. For all the other parts, it's between 7 and 8 seconds of wasted time if you don't skip the cutscene. The area unlock cutscene, we'll call it the area cutscene for short, lasts about 15 seconds, which is about the same amount of time as 2 part cutscenes. It's not so easy though. During the cutscenes, you can't just press A or start or something and skip through, you're forced to watch them. That is, unless you skip them by other means. The only known way to skip a cutscene is to bring up a text box at the same frame as the part enters the hitbox, the ring in the front of the ship. The catch is that this is frame perfect. You must hit A at the correct frame and only that frame to skip the cutscene. You can do this next to the ship, or next to a part, and even the ring at the ship. But not at the part that's being collected. At the top level, you'll see runners hitting almost every cutscene skip. So how do they do it? The key is to aim to skip the cutscene a little early. It's hard to be frame perfect, especially when the parts enter the ship at different spots. Aim to bring up a text box 1 to 4 frames early, then you buffer precisely 1 frame in the overworld, the part moves exactly 1 frame further, and you bring up the text box again. That makes the skip technically consistent. You can do this indefinitely. Obviously though, it's better to use as few text boxes as possible to get the cutscene skip. Suppose each box wastes just over a second. If you try with 6 or more text boxes, you've probably lost time attempting the skip. It gets even easier though, trust me. For whatever reason, perfectly buffering at the ship moves the overworld by 1 frame, but buffering at a part moves the overworld 2 whole frames. That essentially doubles the chance of getting the cutscene skip. If you do it perfectly, the world should only buffer 2 frames precisely. How do you know you're doing 2 frames? Well, let's get something moving and I'll show you. I'll start moving the ADF. And I'll do it too late so that you can see what that looks like. So here I am pressing A too late. You see it moves a few frames, it stops, and then it starts moving again, precisely 2 frames. So it moves a few, stops, and then moves 2. Those 2 frames are unavoidable. It will always move those 2 frames. On those 2 frames, if it enters the ship, you will get the cutscene skip. So let's show you what that looks like. I'm going to do perfect buffers from here on out until it enters the ship. BBA. Whoops. BBA. 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 2 more. There you go. That's the part cutscene skip. Let's try it one more time, and I'll show you what happens when you hold A. And I'm about to close the text box. I'm going to hold the A button after I press B, but here I am, I hold the A button, and it does get a perfect buffer. You see the analog computer only moved 2 frames. You can go back and check. But if I do the exact same inputs again, as I did before, so I'm going to press B to close the text box and then hold A, you see, actually, I didn't get a perfect buffer that time. That's why you need to tap the A button instead of hold the A button after your B press. It's very important that you do that. So yeah, let's get the Libra moving in. And BBA one more time. And that's the skip. You can also do it at the ship, like this. But remember, it only moves 1 frame per buffer at the ship. And there we go. It's also important to note that you don't just immediately go to sunset after you get the final part of the area. Don't immediately go to sunset. Wait until the part enters the ship, and then you can go to sunset. So we've covered part cutscenes. How do you skip the area cutscene? It works based on the ship part counter, which the game keeps track of. The game checks how many parts you now have after collecting a part, and if that number equals 5, 12, or 29, it plays the cutscene. Here I show that I have 3 parts, so if a part enters the ship, it will not trigger the area cutscene. If you get the part cutscene skipped for the 4th part, the game doesn't update the part count until after the part is sucked into the ship. So what if you collect another part before that happens? That is, another part enters the ring of the ship before the previous one is technically collected. Well, the game thinks you're still at 3 parts and not at 4, and decides not to play the area cutscene. The 2 parts then enter the ship, and you can continue playing, even though you've unlocked the next area. The only thing that matters is getting the cutscene skip on the first part that enters, since that is the one that tricks the game's part counter. So this isn't technically any harder than getting a normal cutscene skip on a part. You're just technically tricking the game into thinking that you've collected misnumbered parts. So, that about does it for the video. In summary, where possible, you should use a part to bring up the text boxes for the cutscene skips, since they effectively double the window of opportunity. The least important parts to get the skip on are the ones at the end of the day, since of course you have to wait for it to get sucked up, and perfectly skipping those only saves about 4 seconds, compared to the 7 or 8 seconds for other parts. Still, going for the skips is very important, and it adds up to literal minutes over the course of the whole run. Over time, when you have a specific route to follow and you get used to the timing of the skips, even with their variable positions and with enough practice, you'll never drop another skip again. If you think I've missed something, or you want to ask for clarification, leave a comment down below, or ask in the Pikmin Speedrunning Discord. I'm sure someone will happily answer, and maybe I will. I hope you've learned something, and thanks very much everyone for watching. Peace.